Let's take a look at another one of your notes. You also noted that Mr. Rosen said to Mr. Trump, quote, DOJ can't and won't snap its fingers and change the outcome of the election. How did the president respond to that, sir?
He responded very quickly and said, essentially, that's not what I'm asking you to do. What I'm just asking you to do is just say it was corrupt and leave the rest to me and the Republican congressman.
So let's now put up the notes where you quote the president. As you're speaking to that, he said, the president said, just say the election was corrupt and leave the rest to me and the Republican congressman. So, Mr. Donahue, that's a direct quote from President Trump, correct?
That's an exact quote from the president, yes.
So that was fairly damning. I mean, one can speculate, what if Obama had said something to that effect about literally anything? What if Clinton? What if insert a Dem? That would be the end of the story. In the story that we're in, which is a horror story, I don't know that that will be enough. The clear indication from a reputable source that Donald Trump just wanted some sort of vague cover for his effort to overturn democracy, laid out in the clearest terms possible. That should be it. And Brett, I know that you were watching the coverage yesterday. I was doing live commentary. You were watching and commenting as well. I know that line stood out to you.
This is the smoking gun. This is it. And the reason that we know it was the smoking gun is if you look in every other piece of correspondence from people on the right and the Trump toadies and yes men who went along with literally everything he wanted, they go out of their way to bend over backwards to avoid saying that. And he doesn't have to say it explicitly, that I just want you to say it's corrupt. We'll see Mo Brooks saying like, oh, because the socialist, insane, fascist, Republicans, Democrats are so crazy and socialist. They put this fancy, crazy, convoluted, contorted rhetoric to avoid saying what Trump just revealed in the smoking gun contemporaneous notes evidence was his true motive and full knowledge that he was engaging in a conspiracy to end democracy in the United States of America knowingly. And knowingly is such a key element of this. The reason that I think this is a smoking gun is because I didn't have confidence that a moment like this would exist, but it does. And it is clear that he knew what he was doing was wrong. He knew there was no provable corruption in the 2020 election. And everyone who is pretending that this is just another day in DC is doing just that, pretending. There need to be alarm bells going off. There need to be sirens. There needs to be a huge uprising because Donald Trump has been caught outing himself as taking off the mask and saying, here's my true plan.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, it's as you said, this, like, if I am not as excited about this, it is not because I disagree at all that this is the smoking gun. I mean, it might be a little bit hard to tease out the smoke from this gun because there are so many smoking guns all lined up next to each other. But just that we live in dark times where things don't matter necessarily. But this is incredibly damning. Like it is difficult to accept that we, like other countries throughout history, have leaders who do not give a damn about the system and just want power and are willing to do anything, including sending a mob of insane people to murder politicians of their party, the other party, everyone, basically cops, whoever gets in the way. That is scary. The added layer on top of it, though, the thing that is hard to accept is that there are tens of millions of Americans that are perfectly fine with that and do not care. But some of them might, hold on one sec. Some of them might actually believe the big lie. Many more of them, just they say that they believe it. They don't care. They're not interested in it. They do not care about who won the 2020 election. They want Trump in power. They don't care if overturning it means that our laws don't count for anything, our constitution doesn't count for anything. They don't care if people get assassinated along the way. Tens of millions of people are willing to line up behind this insane, violent, fascist takeover of our country in the same way that there have always been portions of populations willing to do that. We're not better in America. We're not better. It failed this time. It might well not fail next time, okay? We've seen it in other countries. Every one of the elements that made it possible in other countries throughout history is here. And our people are just as corrupt, just as craven, just as focused on unilateral power, democracy be damned.
There might be tens of millions of people who don't care, but there's 330 million people in America. There's more of us than them. For all of the Republicans who are looking around and saying that are in line with the decent folk whom I disagree with 99% of the time, that testified against Donald Trump and exposed his treasonous plot, for all of you, Republican is not an option anymore. That party is not an option. And this is a key moment to expose exactly what's going on. All those distractions, they just made your rights disappear. That's how these evil wizards are actually just magicians saying, over here, Bill Maher, cancel culture sucks, right? And here is now the culmination of a multi-decade plan to get Federalist Society stooges to take your rights away if you're a woman. Here is the culmination of a plan of bloodthirsty, power-hungry actors of Republicans to eliminate, while they're saying make America great again, they are eliminating America. It's a different day. This is another chapter. Everything that you were like, well, I don't know if it's gonna matter to these people anymore. Stop it. Sack up. Sack up. Do it. Move. Get out in the streets.
To me. Yeah, I agree.
I'm just saying, like, it's different today.
Yeah,
it's
no,
different.
I get it.
Wake up, everybody.
Hey.
Not you specifically, but there's a lot of people who are like, it's still so crazy. It's just another day in DC. No.
Oh yeah, no, I get it. And every member of Democratic leadership is exactly the person that you just described. Like this is this is indisputably one of the most important, consequential news days of our lives. And what should we do coming out of it? Organize harder. Vote again or whatever. Just accept and support the incumbents who won't do anything. They have a demonstrated track record. They're not going to protect you. They're not a shield. Just do that, but do that a little bit more. That's what they would have you do.
It's a full-on assault on not reason, but reasons. That's what they're doing. There's reasons that people have struggles. The Republicans would have you deny that. There's reasons that America works as it was originally promised. They're going to deny that. There's reasons that people have democracy in the world, that we should vote and our votes should yield who runs the country, and that our will should, and the reason for that is because we want the will of the people to eventually become law, as long as it doesn't jeopardize the rights of the minority. There's reasons, and they're destroying and trying to get you to ignore all those reasons.
It's a particularly rough. It's the combination of the stuff about January 6th and this. Like the stakes have been made clear in so many different areas simultaneously. I do want to let people know about a few other things. We have several different things I want to make sure that we cover. One is there was a lot of talk yesterday from officials in the DOJ about the plot to get this guy Clark in, who's just a toady. That's all. He's, as they said, he's incompetent. He can't run the DOJ. But to be fair, he was not going to be picked by, I believe it was the Freedom Caucus in the House or whatever. And Trump was totally cool with it. He was not being picked to lead the DOJ. He was being picked to say the election was corrupt. That's it. That's the only thing he was being picked for. They don't care about expertise because they don't want the government to function. They want it specifically not to function. His house has now been raided. Federal officials went in there. We don't know exactly what. We know that there was an early morning search on Wednesday, apparently, in conjunction or in connection with the overall investigation into what happened with the election, but we don't know exactly what they were looking for. It's possible devices. Maybe they were looking for communications. After all, many people have under the threat of some sort of criminal penalties that probably never come, handed in hard drives and phones and emails and all of that stuff, text messages. It's possible that he just didn't, but we don't know. We don't have any more details about that. We do know that that was, again, another big part, like the trying to choose him, like being willing to set fire to the DOJ to get a guy who will just say the election was corrupt. I mean, that's another smoking gun. Like, add that to the pile of smoking guns at this point. Anyway, also Ron Johnson, we talked about that earlier this week. He now says the fake electors he tried to give Pence came from GOP Representative Mike Kelly. Now he says he still didn't do anything wrong. This is just the person that he had referred to. Some staffer at his office. It was just a staffer thing. He had nothing to do with it. Well, good. We are one step closer to identifying that pesky intern who implicated you in a plot to overturn democracy. You must be really excited, Ron Johnson, that we're getting a little bit closer to understanding who it is that needs to be thrown under the bus. Since you had nothing to do with it, you could soon clear your name with that intern.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.